Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and right now I am joined by Victor Henry. He's getting ready to make his UFC return against Raphael Assuncao on October 15th. How's it going, Victor?
Bro, I'm chilling. I'm just resting finally after a long day of training and working on cars.
Absolutely, man. What cars were you working on?
So I'm working on a 1970 Cutlass right now. I'm rebuilding it basically from the ground up. I drove it down from Washington a couple of years ago, and through the pandemic, everything's been kind of slow as far as sourcing parts. Good American steel is hard to come by, especially nowadays. So getting all these parts has been kind of annoying, but now that the parts are actually come in, I can install them on the car.
Is that a side gig for you, or is that more of a hobby?
It's more of a hobby. I love muscle cars. I finally get to work on them, and it's not something that I really want to get paid for because then it'll enter that realm of things. I'd rather keep it just as a hobby. I'll help my friends build up their cars. I'm not into cracking beers, but because I don't drink, but I like to hang out with friends and fix cars. It's pretty tight.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. And just kind of take me through these past few months, man. You made your UFC debut at UFC 270. Obviously, you got the win over a really tough guy and getting ready to make your return. I guess, how has life changed for you since your UFC debut? Are you getting more recognition, do you think, and more respect?
I think I'm getting a little bit more respect as far as the recognition goes. Not really. Um, People have known that I fought. The people that knew that I fought, they already knew. I kept my day job, bartending down here in downtown Fullerton, California, where I live, and the people that already knew that I fought, they knew about it. Their friends, however, they were like, "Oh, you're the guy that fought the other day." Yeah, that was me. Um, as far as respect from the MMA community, that's slowly coming. Like I said a long time ago, like a lot of people they watch their UFC fans, which is fine, not MMA fans. So they didn't really know my accomplishments outside of the UFC. So once I did the same thing in the UFC, all of a sudden, oh hey, you're doing all right. It's, okay, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, but you should have been watching me before.
Yeah, I was about to ask about that because you're a guy that came to the UFC with a ton of experience, fought in a lot of different promotions, a lot of tough guys. Do you feel like it was kind of the right place and right time in terms of signing it with the UFC when you already have that experience and all that fight time?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Right time, of course, right place. It all played out. I didn't get suckered into a terrible contract. And I got to go in fighting somebody who's arguably top 15. So I'm I'm not upset about it. It's cool. Of course, I would have liked to get into the UFC while I was a lot younger, but who's to say that I wasn't ready then, or maybe I'm more ready now. The timing of it is good. Um, I feel like my body's in good shape for a 35-year old, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, I'm fighting now, so what does it matter?
Absolutely, man. And let's talk about this upcoming fight. You're fighting Raphael Assuncao, obviously a veteran of the UFC. He's fought a lot of top guys in the bantamweight division. I guess I just want to get your thoughts on the matchup overall and what kind of fight are you expecting in this one?
You know what? It's hard to predict what kind of fight I'm gonna experience with this guy, only because he's so experienced. He's been there, like you said, he's been in there with a lot of people. He's got a striking game, he's got a grappling game, and he's got everything in between. He's a well versed guy. He's been in there a long time. Um, his age, it might be a factor, but who knows? Because you're dealing with somebody who's possibly on the edge of going out. And the most dangerous animal is the one that's cornered. So we really don't know what kind of fight he's going to bring. The only thing I do know is with the things that I can do. Um, so going into this fight, I'm preparing myself for basically anything, but of course I want to put my right hand on his head. Any fight we basically go into is the same thing. You're going to go in there and you're going to fight somebody. So why not punch him in the head as hard as possible?
I gotcha, man. And I just ask you a little bit about do you feel like this was the right amount of time off in between fights? Because you fought back in January. I guess I just want to get the reason for the time off. Were you dealing with an injury or anything, or was it just a matter of not being able to get a fight?
No, I had a little boo boos here and there, but those weren't really the reasons why I stayed out. Have you ever seen the movie Colors?
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Pac-Man's talking to the old head, and he's talking about that bull scene. Where he's talking about, well, let's go
Yeah.
run down there and get one. He's like, let's walk down and get them all. So I'm basically on my time. The UFC has their plans, I have my plans, and then when our plans coincide, we can make some magic happen.
Definitely, man. And I got to ask you a little bit about working under Josh Barnett, obviously a veteran of the sport, also a really interesting guy, too, I'm sure, to talk to and learn from about not just about fighting, but life in general. So, what are some of the lessons that you've taken away from your time working with Josh?
Working with Josh has been it's been quite the experience. There's a price that you pay when it comes with legendary training. You deal with people who if you're dealing with just anybody or just a normal coach that hasn't accomplished as much as Josh has, you have a certain level of expectation. But then when you take on a coach like Josh, there's even more expectation. So and the expectations exceed just the training room. He's giving me books to read, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that, bro. Like I didn't start. I mean, I dropped out of college after 1 year because I wanted to start fighting. Um, but it comes with the territory. He makes you read. He he talks philosophy with you. Of course, there's the fighting, but then also the fighting that goes with the philosophy, and the philosophy that goes with the fighting. Um, Pulling away from that, Josh has a wealth of knowledge in all of these things, and he doesn't go into things blindly. So to answer your question, going into situations where even if it's a familiar situation or a new situation, going in there with an open mind, with the mind ready to learn and learning how to learn, that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people talk about that have worked with Josh Barnett or how crazy those training sessions are, right? So, kind of just give us an inside scoop as to what he's like as a coach and what are those practices like?
Well, it's no bullshit. There's a lot of bull crap going around in fighting where it wouldn't really work. These moves don't work. This move doesn't work, but it looks nice. Or they're so far. How can I put this? In the context of just martial arts, there's some moves that work in jujitsu. There's not there those moves can translate into MMA, but the other person has to really suck because when you're getting socked in the face, you can't do all these fancy berimbolo rolls and things like that. I mean, they can work against some people, but then having Josh come at you and be like, "You suck today. You suck. This is bullcrap. Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You better check your mind in because that fucking sucks." Can you imagine a big old 270-pound dude coming at you like that? It's kind of scary, So you know, getting insulted in the room when you're trying your best and your body is just not responding the way it is, and all of a sudden getting demeaned by somebody who's trying to pick you up out of the suck. It's not like he's trying to put you stomp you into the ground, but if you suck, and we're gonna let you know.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of fighters, some fighters, I should say, they kind of have yes men as coaches, right? They only kind of tell their fighters what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. So, do you feel like that's a big benefit for you to have a guy that keeps it honest and keeps it solid in the cage?
Absolutely. Even after fights, I had a fight in Japan a long time ago against Nakajima, and even though I won that fight, we were in the back like, "Yo, that fight sucked," and I was like, "Yeah, I know this. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that." And he goes, "Why didn't you just do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, just spaced out." He goes, "Well, it happens. We got lucky. We left with a win, but that freaking sucked." You know, um, Being honest in the room is how you get better. You can't bullcrap somebody into a championship. You gotta be honest.
Absolutely, man. And I want to ask you a little bit about your job as a bartender. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. I got to ask you a little bit. Do you have any crazy stories in terms of using your MMA skills as your bartending job, or have you had to kick anybody out, or what's been going on with that?
Yeah, there's been a couple times where some people they cop an attitude because I'm 5'7". I'm not very tall, but people, they even if they're just taller than me, they think I had a guy one time just kind of look over me like even though I tapped him on the shoulder, hey, excuse me, he was being a dick. He was
Oh,
just being weird. But then all of a sudden he looks over me like this, like I'm too short. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, down here." I was like, "Yeah, you can't be doing that, man. Like we're gonna have to," because he was smoking in the bar. So you can't be doing that. I'm gonna have to ask you to stop. And then he started doing it again. I was like, "Hey, man, like I asked you to stop. Like this is your last warning." And then sure enough, started smoking again. I was like, "Hey, bro, you got to go out." And he goes, "Well, what the hell are you gonna do?" I was like, "I'm just gonna call the big guys. I'm the small guy." And then he started, of course, trying to pick a fight with me. So you know, little foot sweep, a little snap down, and I carried him out by his face in a front face lock. For those of you who know what a gravit is, you go across the jaw and you carry him out. So I carried him out, and then he's at the door, and I was like, "All right, sir, like you got to go." And he's thinking, "Man, come on, come outside, come outside." I was like, "Sir, what do you think is gonna happen? I'm gonna go out there, and the same thing is gonna happen." Like, and the fear and the confusion in his eyes was enough to make me laugh. Um, after after the fight, after my last fight in January, some guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hey man, where do I recognize you from?" I said, "I don't know, bro." Like he goes, "I seen you on TV or something, right?" I was like, I guess maybe." And he goes, "Well, did you used to work security?" And I did used to work security at the bar next door to where I work at now. And he goes, and I'm like, "Yeah, I used to work in security next door." He goes, "Nah, that's it." So I go and I come back. I say, "Man, are you doing all right? You want some more to drink?" He goes, "No, but hey, did you used to be an accountant?" I said, "Nah, man, nah." He goes, "All right." And I leave. And then his friends come, and I see his friends come in. They sit next to him, and I come back. I say, "Hey, man, can I get you guys something?" And they order their drinks. And the guy goes, "Hey, man, I swear I recognize you from, I know you were in a video. You were in something." And I was like, I mean, and he goes, what did you used to do before?" And I was like, I used to do gay porn. You probably saw me on gay porn." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no." And his friends started looking at him. "Oh, bro, you used to watch, you watched that stuff?" "No, it's not. No." And I was like, "Oh, what did it?" I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bro. So
Yeah.
I left it at that. So his friends started ripping him all night about that. The bar scene is it's fun in doses. I personally don't drink. Um, I have a lot of friends who drink. I have a lot of friends, obviously, that don't drink. Some of them don't drink, but you know, it is a great way for a young fighter to really be able to make some money and be able to train. I tell a lot of the young fighters all the time that the times, any time spent away from the gym is away from the gym, of course. Anytime you can spend training is beneficial to the things that you want to do in the future, which is fighting. If you are more worried about moving out of the house, getting your own place, that's fine. But realize that now you have to get a more 9 to 5 job to pay for this. Get a new car. Well, you're gonna have to pay for that. You get all this stuff. You're gonna have to pay for all that stuff.
Do
Living
you?
in the gym is
Oh
what's
no,
up.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I said living in the gym is not gonna make all that money.
Mhm.
And even when you're fighting in the UFC, you might just be barely making that money. Unless you're top of the cream of the crop. You know, um. So a lot of these amateur fighters, I want to move out because I want to have my own room where my mom's not gonna know if I bring a girl over or whatever. I'm like, yeah, hey, bro, I get it, but if you get that job and you get that new car and you get the best phone and you have the best insurance and this, that, and the other, you're gonna have to pay for it. And fighting in the local shows, unless you're doing it every weekend, is not gonna pay for it. Bite the bullet right now, man. Bite the bullet. So that's why this bartending job is good because you make a couple hundred. You can make, especially in a downtown area where there's a lot of bars, you can make anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a weekend,
Mhm.
and $4,000 a month. I mean, that's a pretty good job. And then still have time to train. I mean, it's a great way to supplement your basic needs while trying to accomplish something big. Like fighting.
Do you feel like a lot of young fighters kind of expect that they're just going to go full time right away and don't even think about side gigs or extra ways to make money? Do you feel like that's the case for a lot of young fighters?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of young fighters think that, man, I'm just gonna train and then that's it. It's like, well, yeah, because you probably living at home with your mom, you're not paying rent, and you got this junk car because you got this junk car from your dad or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's fine, you know. But then what happens is that you start fighting, and then with the fighting comes a little bit of notoriety, even if it's just local notoriety in the amateur shows or even in the pro shows. You get a little bit of local notoriety, and I know this because it's even with the younger pros that I train with. I have to keep an eye out on the local talent also because my guys might be fighting them. So they have a little local, they have their local fans and everything. But what comes with fans? You know, the girls, the groupies, you know, and all of a sudden, oh, I want a better car because I'm driving around in this 1999 Grand Prix, Pontiac Grand Prix, and no girl's going to want to get in that car. I'm not going to get lucky, you know. And then that translates into, oh, well, I managed to get this one girl. Well, now what am I going to do? Take her to my mom's house? So this is where these are the things that as you become an adult, you kind of want your own space, which is understandable. But what's more valuable, you training and becoming the best you can be so eventually you can move out and then have a stable position, or is it more important to get laid now, you know, while you're on the local scene? For me, it was more important to travel the world. You know, I moved out of my house when I was 28, 29 years old,
Mhm.
and it wasn't fun, but I made the sacrifice in order to do the things that I wanted to do.
Absolutely, man. And last question for me. Once again, I really do appreciate the time, man. It's great to chat with you. What can fans expect on October 15th?
Fans can expect that I'm gonna be moving around a lot. I mean, somebody posted a long time ago that they needed USADA needs to test me for battery acid because I kept such a pace. I plan on having the exact same pace, and I plan on putting on a great show. I mean, no fight that I've been in has been boring, so I want to keep that. I want to keep that streak going.
No doubt about it, man. Before we wrap things up here, I'll give you the floor to shout out any sponsors you may have. Shout out your social media if you want, and I'll give you the final word.
Absolutely, man. I'd like to thank Fight Tech, you know, hooking up my car with the fuel injection. You know, I'd like to thank Gentlemen's Fight Club for hooking up with Gentlemen's Fight Club for hooking me up with some nice clothes. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at Victor Henry MMA.
Absolutely, man. Well, Victor, let's definitely do this again, man. All the best with the rest of camp, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much, guys.